Hello, plant community. Thanks for tuning into Full of Foliage. Pam's here creating a safe space, showing lots of grace, sharing a lot of plant care, plant hauls, planty crafts, and the occasional shopping trips. Join me so that we can become planty friends, have fun, and possibly learn and grow. Hey guys, on this channel as well as other channels you may have heard like top plant care tips, things to do before buying a plant. And for the most part, even myself, the information out there is really kind of generic, can be really general. But is it helping you decide what kind of plants to buy to bring into your space? Sometimes the information can be quite useful, but considering that everybody's environment in home is different, it may not be as useful as one would hope. So in today's video, you guys, we're going to take a little deeper dive of things for you guys to consider before buying that plant. I feel like these tips that I'm going to share with you guys will be beneficial and, more like trying to change our mindset when we do plant shopping. We want to get away from definitely doing all that, buying the hype plants, the plants that's in the hip plants. We definitely want to get away from that. I recommend you getting away from that. But anyway, if this seems like something that you can benefit from, and I definitely suggest that you watch this video before you buy your next plant, because there's some insightful things. Please show support, you guys, by giving big thumbs up, also like it, and sharing if you feel like someone can benefit from this video. So let's dive in. Okay, so I wrote my notes on the phone, so if y'all see me going down, it's just a little easier for me to keep my thoughts in order, if that makes sense, because I have a lot of knowledge that I want to share with you guys, and I'm hoping that somebody in plant world, YouTube land, will be able to benefit from it. But if not, maybe I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. Or if you like just learning random things or thinking outside the box, because I'm not really an outside of the box thinker, but I am more of a structural thinker, I think. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about 5 things to consider, more or less, and do a little quick deep dive. So the first one is we want to understand the role that you want your plant to play when purchasing your plant. So not every plant is just for decor. You need to ask yourself these 3 important things, you guys. Do you want a statement piece or a subtle accent? So think about what you want this plant to do for you. Do you want it to be a plant where when someone enters your home, they'll be like, oh, wow, what's that? And you can just talk briefly about it. Could be an icebreaker, if you will. You never know. Should it soften a corner, add height, or even bring movement, or create a focal point in your home? What do you want your plants to say to a person entering the space? What do you want the plant to say to you when you enter the space? These are things you need to consider. Is it meant to energize the room, or is it meant to calm it? So a good example of that for me would be my peace lily inside my bedroom. I love the calming way that the peace lily canopies over, and so I have it in my bedroom because I feel like it gives me a calming space. Out of all the spaces in my home, outside of my sunroom, I would love for my bedroom to provide a calming, relaxing space so that I can have a peaceful, restful sleep. And so because of that, I do have that particular plant in my area. So you want to think about your space as far as what it's doing for you here, if that makes sense. Now, you also want to keep in mind your space as microclimates, not just light level. Now, in my channel, I think I shared with you guys different light sources. But one of the things that I did not really talk about too is really analyzing your space. analyzing your room, not for just only recognizing the kind of light that comes in there, whether it's bright, medium, or low light, but we also want to pay attention to when light is coming into your space. Pay attention to the time of day, I think is extremely important. If light is coming in the morning time, then that may be a great space to have like some of your low light plants. If you see that it's coming in the middle of the day, that could be your mediums type of plants that thrive off of light but not too intense. And then your afternoon light, which is the strongest light, you know, you want to make sure you think about those plants that's thriving on light. The direction of the way the light comes into your space, I think, is as equally important as just considering the levels of light. You also want to keep in mind, too, as far as the build of your home, think about your doorways. Think about where you have your ventilations at, where you have your heating source, your AC unit, those doors that's going to be constantly opening where it gives out burst and fluctuation of the environment. Think about, can that plant handle those type of changes? Should, you know, can you put a plant, this plant, whatever this plant is, can you put it beside a radiator? Can it withstand sitting underneath of your vent if it's above, or even close to the floor if your vent is on the floor? Can it be by a door that's used often to open and close, especially if you're living in a climate that changes on a seasonal basis? That's one of the things you want to also consider too. Should I put this plant by this door? Like, for example, I'm looking right here. I have a door right here that leads out to my deck. But honestly, you guys, in the winter time, I don't use that door at all. And because of that, I have my Paraiso Verde growing right there by the door. Now, if I was to use the door and opened it, because we're in winter time, I have a couple of plants that I think would be able to take the hit briefly and not I guess decline. One of them being, I'm looking at it right now, is my fernwood snake plant. I think would be able to handle it because it's been there in that corner for a long time, and I have opened the door to and from briefly, and so I've learned from experience. So you want to keep that in mind. Humidity. You want to think about the humidity zones in your home. If you don't have one, I recommend getting one of those meters that measure the humidity levels inside your rooms in your house. Depending on what it is, especially high humidity areas usually is kitchens and bathrooms. In here right now, I think my humidity level is at a 36%. Inside my home is at 51. I don't know why, but it does change. So if you have a humidity loving plant, you know this plant will thrive off of humidity. For me, I would not have a humidity loving plant in the sunroom at this particular time, depending on what that meter is telling me. I would more or less have it inside my home where it will pretty much thrive. An example of that, now that I think about it, you guys, could be my pallidiflorum not pallidiflorum, my Anthurium viridiflorum that I just recently showed you guys. If y'all remember how I was talking about the strappiness and how it was growing nicely, and the fact that it did not have any crispiness of leaves or tips, which I thought was amazing. Now, albeit it's in my dining room, which I do believe for the most part the humidity is like at 50-51% usually all around, whereas my pallidiflorum is in my bedroom and it's getting more crispiness of the leaves, but I believe the humidity in my bedroom is even lower than the humidity in this room, which would be like at 25%. So you want to keep in mind, if you're going to bring those moisture loving, the humidity loving plants, and let's just say you're not one that's into buying the cabinets to control the humidity, you want to analyze your space for that as well. Another thing you want to consider too is how far away from your windows will this plant be. In here, for the most part, My plants that I know that thrives off of light, especially in the non-growing season because the direction of the sun has changed, is not as intense as it would be in spring and summer. And so because of that, there's some plants that take kind of like a medium light that I actually have near the window because I know that they will be able to survive now around this time, but I will pull back once spring and summer comes around. And then I have plants that, and I'm looking at them right now, that thrives off of light, that need that light. I have them pushed up, definitely up towards the window to encourage more growth or really keep them alive, because that's really my main focal point in the non-growing season, is just keeping the plants alive. And then come growing season, my focal point is how can I get them to maximize their growth as much as possible. And so I have like my regular ficus that I notice is right there. I have definitely my croton that could not survive without being like in form of light. I have my Lactea Ghost, Euphorbia. I have my Amac Euphorbia. Things like that is right there by the window, and I need them to be by the window. They could stay by the window throughout the year. So you want to keep in mind how far is that plant going to be away from the window, which will mean whether or not if it's going to be a low light, medium, or bright light situation, and will your plant thrive and survive, because maybe we just want a plant to survive. We don't want a particular plant to grow wild or whatever the case may be, but you want to make sure that will this plant survive? And these are the things you need to ask yourself when you are shopping at those big box stores and you see that plant that's been on your wish list. Stop and think about it first. Number 3, you guys, this is extremely important, and I think I've talked briefly about it, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever did like a deep dive into this particular topic, which I think we all can benefit from. Your lifestyle rhythm and attention span is something to be desired. That is something that's different from me to you, from you to the next person, from that person to the next person, and so on and so forth, right? So you want to ask yourself, how often are you home? Or how frequently do you travel? We need to really ask ourselves that. We think, okay, we take plants for granted. Sometimes we just buy it for our own pleasure and aesthetics for the moment, bring it home, and we're not home. We're working all the time, whatever. We're traveling all the time. Come back to a hot mess. And then we wonder why. We wonder why. That's why, because certain plants need instant attention. Some plants you can sit in a corner and forget. So you need to understand what type of person are you. Now, for me, honestly, I do work, but for the most part, I would consider myself to be a homebody. If I was not a homebody person, do you think I would be able to have this large collection in my house? Heck no. I don't think I would. And if I did, I would have to have a team that would help me, keep my plant chores and the upkeep of my plants up. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So if I started traveling or something like that aggressively, or I knew I wasn't spending as much time in the home as I would like, I would have to reorganize and rethink my plant collection and say, okay, which ones would survive and do okay without me being there all the time? Do you want to ask yourself, for your mental health, do you enjoy weekly plant care? Or do you prefer to set it and forget it? Me, a lot of people tell me from looking at me that I seem like a person that likes to take care of stuff. My daughter tells me that all the time. It's like, oh, Ma, you just like taking care of stuff. And she very well may be right. I get a joy out of caring for my plants. It's therapeutic for me. It's my mental reset time. It's my opportunity to really inspect my plant time. It's putting love and care into something and getting it back is a little bit rewarding for me. So for me, yes, that would work for me in my mindset. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. What's your mindset? Do you want to wipe down leaves? Do you want to be inspecting plants? Or do you want that plant that you could say, you know what, I'll water you when I feel like it and I can go on about my business? You need to ask yourself that before you buy that next plant. You want to also think, do you like pruning or shaping your leaves, or do you prefer something that grows beautifully on its own? Now, I do have some examples of that. Now, an example would be this plant right here. You don't really have to do much for pruning. It pretty much grows on its own, I think. The only time you really cut this plant, in my personal opinion, is when a leaf is died. You just pull that sucker off, but you don't have to worry about constantly pruning it to control the plant. And that will take up a lot of time. And also, too, we prune sometimes to suit our aesthetics as well. So you want to think about that plant, how much attention of yours you have to give to that plant before you buy it. Make sense? Makes sense to me. Number 4. Now, the energy and the aesthetics. What do you want? What are you trying to build? This is what you definitely want. This is a very important piece, you guys, to me. It's important to me. Now, for me, I like all types of varieties of plants. That may not be the case for you. You may want something a little different. So do you want a lush jungle vibe? Are you a minimalist? Do you want structural botanical elegance? And I just want to, do you prefer trailing or upright plants? Whimsical foliage. Does the plant personality match the room personality? So one of the things I wanted to talk about is the aesthetic of the plant. I'm going to show you this again. Do you want something that grows upright? Do you want something that's colorful, that matches the aesthetic of your room that you're trying to design? Do you want something that creates a jungle vibe? Like this Monstera subpinata creates definitely a jungle vibe. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful, right? And if you had it up, do you prefer something trailing? Like this beautiful, what are you? Mirabilis. Or your Mirabilis. I like this trailing look. I also like the dark color with this white. It just matches the aesthetic perfectly. Are you a whimsical person? Like this particular peperomia variety that I have. I love whimsical things. I've talked about that several times on this channel with you guys. And I really love this vibe right here. This is really, look at that. It's like whimsical, like wind chimes, peace of mind vibe. And the fact that it's trailing, it just gives a vibe, a calming effect for me. Or are you one that like something that just grows upright, like I showed you that, but also this is also an upright plant, this begonia here, which is very beautiful in color as well, dark colors, light colors. Do you prefer more variegated versions of plants to fit the space, the design? Think about that room that you're trying to design. What do you want that room story to be? When someone enters that room, you want to ask yourself, what do I want this room to tell a person? The way that I'm creating stuff in the sunroom, I want it to be just jungle-fied all the way up. I want vines hanging all over the place, stuff growing all around me, foliage everywhere you look. That's the space that I'm creating. Something where you actually step through the threshold of this room and you'll be like, oh man, this is a calming space, but this is really a jungle vibe. Look, there's so many different things that will attract you to looking. I got things hanging down, growing up, climbing on walls, whimsical vibe, beautiful variegation, like everything that whispers or screams beauty I want to have in this room. It goes along with my hand-painted decor items. The paintings that I have up here that I did. The beautiful painting sketch that my daughter did. I feel like it all ties in and all creates a word for me in this room of calm, peace, and tranquility. So you definitely want to be mindful of what you want your room to say when entering it. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind contrast with the color of your walls, the color of the leaves. It matters. Also, patterns and shapes, such as this. This is my Hoya UT 073, by the way. The structure of this. This is so prehistoric. This tells a story on its own. It's just yeah. And it's trellis. So are you a person that wants something trellis? You, last but definitely not least, you want to think, and this is something that I have not considered in the beginning of my plant journey, the future with the plant. This is something that I've learned as I've become a little bit more knowledgeable as I'm traveling through my plant journey. You want to think about the future of this plant before you buy it too. Like, how big will it get? I think a lot of us too, especially when we was going through the pandemic time of us buying up all these plants just as a hobby, a love for the foliage, we never once really considered, okay, now I just randomly just got a quick 50 plants in my house. They will thrive. Hopefully that's the goal, right? Oh my gosh, do I have the space to accommodate them now? You need to think about the growth pattern of that plant. If you have the space for the plant once it matures, like, oh my gosh, everybody is after these monsteras. And you guys, I said this way early in the very beginning of my channel. It took me a long time to actually get a monstera. My husband actually brought me my first monstera because I knew how big they would get, right? And I was like, Dad, do I have the space for it? Honestly, you guys, I don't think I have the space for it. But I have the regular green variety one. I got two Thai cons. I got my elbow one, and four monsteras in my home. Really, if they was to really get through to maturity with the plethora of plants that I have, do I really have the space? Heck no, I don't really have the space. I don't have the space. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the space. So for those plants, I'm not really like pumping and trying to get bigger. I'm more or less pumping into just having them grow. I don't need them to be huge or humongous, and that's why I'm also trying to keep it just one stem. For me, I think it'll be a little bit more controlled in the space if I'm going to have that many monsteras in my home. How often do you want to make changes to your plants throughout the seasons? Like, how often do you want to repot your plant? How often um, do you feel the need to propagate because of the seasonal changes? There are certain plants that can stay in their pots for years. Example of that would be definitely euphorbias, your succulents, your cacti. And then there's plants that seem like you gotta repot every year, give or take, and that would be like your monsteras, possibly if the root system is humongous. Philodendrons for sure, they're always needing repotting. So you need to think about that. Like, how often do you want to dedicate time for that? For me, I don't mind because it's all therapeutic for me. I love actually displaying times when I am doing repotting with you guys on my channel. So there's a purpose for me wanting to do these things. You have to consider, is it a purpose for you to want to do them? If you don't seem like, okay, propagating is not for you, and you're like, I'm not trying to buy soil every time every year or so. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to keep it as simplistic as possible. So you definitely need to consider that. As well as, will this plant, again, going back to that, fitting your space, futuristic of your plants, a year or two from now. How will it fit your space? Now, I got creative. Now, thank goodness, this peperomia hope that's behind us here. Now, the leaves are dainty. I've had her for almost 5 years now. And she was extremely small, you guys, when I got her. Oh my goodness, she was tiny, and she just blew up into growth, as you can see. But I put her cleverly displayed here because I did not want to cut her vines. As you can see, I have her kind of like trailing along the walls, hanging down here, and part of it is actually wound and trellised up. So I thought about the future of that plant, especially when I started her. Now, she went through 3 steps in here. She started out as being on a table that I have right here. She started hanging kind of long from the table. Then I moved her from the table, hung her on the hook right here, and then she was trailing real down, almost like 12 inches from the floor. And that's when I said, okay, now I'm moving her up here. And then I decided to go ahead and intertwine her onto the wall. So basically, you just need to have a plan of action for the future of your plants. So I really hope that these tips, or not really, I wouldn't categorize it as a tip. I would categorize these as a shift of thinking, a shift of thought process. These are really the things that we need to consider before we buy those plants. So the next time you guys, you're in a Home Depot, you're at a Lowe's, you're at a, I don't know, for some of you guys, Walmart even, your favorite nursery, and you are looking at plants to buy, bring into your home, you need to think about all these things that we've discussed. And if it is suitable for you, your aesthetic, your lifestyle, what you want your room to say, how you want that room to make you feel when you come in there, these are things you need to consider before buying the next plant. So yeah, I hope that this was a little bit more, I don't know, in depth for you, gave you a little bit different perspective. Let me know your thoughts. Do you have a pattern of thought when you actually go shopping for plants? Or are you just an impulse buyer? Because sometimes I can do one or the other. Are you an impulse buyer? Is it like, oh man, I've been wanting this plant. You know, you've had it on your wish list so long till you're not even thinking about the next step with the plant. You're so stuck on, I just need to add it to my collection. You know, just share. You know, again, this is a safe space where we can share plethora of positive thoughts, you guys, positive energy. That's what I'm trying to keep nestled into this world here. But yeah, I would love to read your thoughts, you guys. So comment if you have the chance. So keep in mind, this ends the video. Keep in mind, if you love foliage as much as I do and you love listening to planty things, double check. Check. Make sure you are subscribed. Keep pushing the thumbs up. They've been helping my channel. Thank you for hyping my channel. That also been helping me too. I really appreciate that. I know you guys get a certain number of hypes, so the fact that you use your hypes on mine to push me out there even more, I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy your day wherever you are in the world, and until next time, guys, much love. Bye.